Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I have another great story about a travel agent and some of the stupidity by travelers. Listen to this one. An Illinois congresswoman by the name of Jan Schakowsky called in to get a plane ticket. She needed to know how it was possible that her flight from Detroit left at 8:30 a.m. in the morning and got to Chicago at 8:33 a.m. The travel agent tried to explain that Michigan was an hour ahead of Illinois, but this woman could not understand the concept of time zones, and she kept arguing. Finally, the ticket agent told her the simple truth. The plane went really fast. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. And a great day for you, I hope, is in store for all of us. And welcome to our program with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big spring tire sale going on right now. Also, some of our great advertisers, including Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service, 734-6969. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
How are you, buddy?
Good. How are you this morning?
Great. Go ahead with the pledge.
Alrighty. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy, Wheels, attaboy. Well, it's time for our weather, and it's brought to you by Lennox and Ramsey Heating and Electric, offering quality rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them today at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Right now, here's the weather.
Well, today is going to be a nice day, but as we move closer to the weekend, it appears that a storm front is rolling in. Weather for today, partly cloudy skies, slightly breezy, winds out of the south 5 to 10 miles an hour, high of 65 is what we're expecting. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, low of 41. Tomorrow looks like the beginning of that storm front rolling in, mostly cloudy skies, high of 68, overnight low of 46. And then for Friday, 90% chance of rain showers in the forecast with a high of 58. That is your weather for 7 at the Ranch.
Yuck. It doesn't sound real good for the weather, but we'll grin and bear it. And thank you very much. Brought to you by Lennox. We appreciate that. Right now, I want to tell you that we're expecting some really good guests on the program this morning. We're going to have at 9:06, Jack Euler is going to be talking about the influx of more grizzly bears leaving Yellowstone Park and going all over the region. Yeah, I'm saying all over the region. Dangerous. We're going to talk to him about that. And then we're going to have Bill Bullard. We're going to have, we're expecting Rachel Alexander at 10:06 and Dr. Bob Thiel from California at 10:32. We're going to have a guest on the line momentarily. Stand by, Kate Rogge. I know you're there. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley, and also 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls, America's Diner. Holy moly, have you seen and heard about their new burgers? Ooh, you got to try the bacon avocado cheeseburger or the bourbon bacon burger. Oh, knock your Tony Lamas off delicious. You're going to love it. All the food, all the menu items, and the nice people at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at, of course, 611 Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Cade Rogge, are you there?
Yes, sir.
How are you this morning, Cade? Good to have you on the program.
Yeah, good to be here.
Wheels, I need him turned up just a little bit, if you would, please. Cade, you've got, on behalf of Rogge Auction Service, a great big sale coming up. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, man, it's been great. It's our annual community consignment sale at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds, and it just gets better every year. So we're really excited about the offering this year. I was just telling my dad last night, excuse me, I was telling him that our Tuesdays are starting to look like our Thursday nights used to. What I meant by that is we've already got some good stuff over there. So, yeah, really excited about the sale this year. It's been a good turnout from what we can see so far. I just hope the weather holds out.
Let me ask you this, Cade. What about the quality? I know that you and I talked about this earlier. You wanted to have this be a quality sale on April 8th, coming up this weekend at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds. What's it look like?
Yeah, and that's what my dad and me, we kind of strive to do, and we do our best at pre-consigning these items. So what we do when we do that is we just do our best to make sure everything's in working order and everything has a market value to it. Just so you as a buyer or a customer can be fairly certain that when you come there, it's going to be good stuff that's worth something and it has value, and that's what we strive to do. And I feel like we've done a pretty good job of that this year. We've got some great little tractors. This year, Zeb, it's kind of crazy. We've got some really nice cars. You never know what you're going to get, but man, I've got a Mercedes, I've got a BMW, I've got a Corvette. I mean, I've got all kinds of fancy cars. So
I saw you the other.
And see what those bring.
I saw you going down the interstate the other night in that Mercedes, and I waved at you, and you wouldn't wave back.
Well, that Mercedes, it kind of changes your outlook. You kind of get to feeling like you're better than people driving something like that. I don't know.
Hey, let me ask you this. Is it too late to get consignments into the sale?
Absolutely not. We're going to be open from 10 till 6 today, and tomorrow and Friday, we'll probably be over there from 8 o'clock till dark. So, yeah, we welcome everybody to, these next 3 days to bring it in, and we'll get you lined up and get you consigned. And like I said, we'll do our best to be over there all day today, and for sure Thursday, and for sure Friday. So,
all right. Well, that's going to be. It's going to be coming up this Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning, April 8th at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds out in the hayfield. Great big sale, spring community sale with Rogge Auctions. And if they want more information, how do they get a hold of you on the telephone and your website? Tell us that.
Yeah, we're really excited about our website. We've kind of revamped it. We had some troubles with our previous website about pulling it up on a smartphone. Now it's very user-friendly. Really go to that website. You can print out your own sale bill on that website. You can print out a full catalog of everything that we have consigned. As we consign, we take pictures and email them to the website designer. He shoots them up there. It's all there. Our contact information's all there. It's RoggeAuctions.com. So make sure you check that out.
All right, buddy. Hey, thanks, Cade. I appreciate it. Great guy right here. Rogge Auctions putting on the spring community sale at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds this Saturday, April 8th at 10 a.m. Have a great day, Cade. Thanks.
Hey, you too, Zeb. Thank you.
All right, sir. Those are good guys, really good guys. And I've known Cade for quite some time, a super announcer, great auctioneer, and I appreciate him taking the time to come on the program this morning. Hey, I want to tell you real quick, too, about Ramsey Heating and Electric, and oh, my. They really have all your heating, cooling, all your electrical needs, everything at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-04 0459. I think I've said their telephone number for over 15 years, and that's the first time I ever made that mistake. Sorry, Rita. 678-0459. They're open 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday, and it's where they always provide warm winters and cool summers and save you money. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. Really, really nice people. By the way, too, I'm trying to gather to catch things up here a little bit. I'm going to be talking in just a minute about Chris Tonto Peranto. That's a nickname, Tonto Peranto, but I think you remember him from Benghazi, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Also want to remind you about Barry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my goodness, sales, service, and parts, 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Don't forget those big Doosan loaders. Oh, my. They are the big dudes that can really take care of the job at your dairy and other construction sites, whatever. Check on those Doosan loaders, because Barry Equipment and Rental has all the equipment to get the job done right. Equipment rentals, retail equipment sales, and don't forget they've got those Walker mowers. You can mow like the pros, 0% interest for 48 months. Barry Equipment and Rental. Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Tonto Peranto, he goes by that nickname, was one of the survivors of the Benghazi attacks. And he was on the news this morning at about 4:30 this morning, and he was asked about Susan Rice. Now, first of all, I should be very upfront and say that there's no doubt in my mind that Chris Peranto and the other survivors of Benghazi do not like at all Susan Rice, because, as he said this morning, she is a complete liar. She came out, as you'll recall, and made statements that, a anti-Islamic video caused a quick retort against the embassy in Benghazi. Furthest thing from the truth. And over this situation now with the surveillance and literal spying of members of the Trump campaign, Chris Peranto was asked this morning what he thinks about Susan Rice and whether she will get off. And he said, I'm afraid. I'm very afraid that Susan Rice will get off on another story for her lies about the surveillance. Now, here's what's interesting about Susan Rice. And I did a little research, and thanks to my lovely bride on the computer, and then also it was on the news earlier this morning, that Susan Rice has completely changed her story from a month ago when she was asked about any Obama administration surveillance of the Trump campaign, and she said, absolutely not. Those words really rang loud and clear. Absolutely not. But. Now she's changing her tune and dancing to the tune of, maybe sometimes for the good of the country. How deep does this mess go? And how many more lies, deceitful lies, is the past administration going to throw up? And I'm going to be very honest with you. I know there's a lot of people out in the audience that don't like Trump. And there's probably a lot of people in the audience, the sound of my voice, due to the fact that I'm on the internet and people listen all over the United States, that are saying, I believe that Trump was being complicit with the Russians, and I just think that all kinds of heck is going to befall upon us in the near future. Wait a minute. Don't you understand that maybe all the plotting and the planning and the under-the-table attitudes of the Democratic Party to subject this new administration to total negativity, these seeds may have been planted all by the Democrats and Obama? Think about it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, folks, don't leave me hanging. It's your program. Give me a call. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Hello, Nick. Deanna, I want you to hold a baseball bat over my head. We got to call them today, and I've got to get scheduled to go back so they can help me get back to feeling like me. That leg needs help. And I'll tell you what, for anybody out there that's been doing a little spring work already this year and got a little bit of ache and pain in your back or your arms or your shoulders, those old muscles haven't been used for quite a while during the winter months, well, they can help. They know all the exercises. They've got excellent physical therapists, and they've got that hydrotherapy pool. Ooh, that is good. You get a hold of them today, 678-1191. 678-1191. The best. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Really nice people. Also, real quick, I want to tell everybody about Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. You know, now is an absolute great time to get a hold of Scott. I know he's busier than a one-arm paper hanger, but I'll tell you what, now's the time to put in new sprinkler systems or repair the old ones before you have to turn the water on this year. Now's a great time to call them at 438-2485. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, and also to get those fruit trees trimmed. They can do it all, and they will. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 438-2485. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
You betcha. Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Well, hello there, son.
I think the reason why these so-called liberals are fighting Trump so much is because, he's not one of the good old boys society. He's trying to get things done. They're fighting him all the way, and they're the ones that are causing it. Well, we have some Republicans, too. I can't say all the liberals. They're fighting tooth and nail. Get out of the way and let him get his job done, and let's see what happens.
Donna, now that is a common sense approach, and absolutely it's one that should be adhered to, because right now the man has not been given a fair shake since the induction ceremony for him as president back in January. But now you tell me, and I know what you're going to say to the answer to this, but you tell me, where have you seen in the last now going on 4 months any reciprocity from the Democrats to try to work for us instead of their crybaby, we lost attitude, and it's all for them. They want, gimme. They're not doing anything for the American public. They're just spoiled losers.
Oh, no, you're totally right. You're totally right. Look at California. I was talking to my son this morning. My two older boy lives in California. They hate it. Governor Brown is they're bankrupt. They have no to license your vehicle. My oldest son just bought a brand new truck. $900 to register that truck in California.
What?
They need these Democrats need to get up off their holier than thou attitudes, pull their big people pants up, and let him do his job. And he wasn't my first choice either, but you know what? He's trying. Somebody has to do something.
Well, Donna, what you just said yesterday are exactly the phrases that I used when I was talking to Senator Crapo back in Washington. I said it's time for the Republican Party to pull their big boy pants up, look at the Democrats and say, you lost. Get out of the way. We're coming through.
Oh, I totally agree. I wish they would, but they've got some of those Republicans up there in Washington that need to be registered as Democrats because they're going along right with them. We as a people need to vote them out of office and pull somebody in there that's going to help Trump make America great again.
I wonder if there's a category for wimps. Instead of independent, Democrat, or Republican, do they have a category for wimps with a big W? Because that's how a lot of them act.
Yeah, there probably isn't, but you're right, there should be.
All right, Donna, God bless you. Good to see you. Thank you.
Hey, have a great day, my friend.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Good to hear from her. I can't see her, but I said good to hear from her. That's better. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away, please. I want to remind everybody about Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. You know, this lady is just so nice to work with, and she's so soft-spoken and just absolutely knows everything about hearing and sound, and I urge you to give her a call at 312-0957. Why? Well, if you're having some trouble hearing, and you say, well, I can't quite hear that, it's a little fuzzy or something, go take a hearing screening, and she can and will help you. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, 312-0957. Please give Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids a call today. And, oh, by the way, on Mondays, we give away a dozen cookies from the delicious Sophie's Chatterbox. This week's caller, the program hadn't even gone into the second hour, and that gentleman called and ordered his cookies. I mean, man, he was excited about winning those cookies. Sophie's Chatterbox, great restaurant, great bakery at 530 East Street in Rupert. Hey, they want to help you at Easter for all the goodies for your Easter baskets at Sophie's Chatterbox. Call them today at 436-0354. Caller, good morning. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Yeah, Tano on that Fox this morning, he stated it real good. He's talking about how come you'd want to run her out when she has a track record of lying.
Yeah.
I mean, who is going to believe her?
Well, that's the whole thing that I'm concerned about. Who is going to believe her? Now, that opens the Pandora's box for an answer that you don't want to hear. Number one, the media. The media is going to believe her because the media is trying to push and perpetrate her as being, holier than thou, kind of the Joan of Arc. She always tells the truth, and she's being subjected to criticism from the right-wing conservatives. How dare they? You know that's true, Doug.
Exactly. That's what they're pushing. And that one anchor, I can't remember what channel he was on, he says, I'm not going to insult the intelligence of my audience by even covering this story.
That was on CNN, and his name is Don Lemon.
So, there ought to be a name for some of those announcers and some of the politicians back there, too. There ought to be a category as amoeba.
Well,
have one brain cell.
Yeah, okay, but the journalist, as you and I grew up listening to, the journalist on TV that gave you, the listener, nothing but the facts, and then you, the listener, could have your opinion and ascertain from the facts which way you thought that story was leaning. Now, when you have a creep like Don Lemon at CNN saying, well, I'm not even going to carry that story, and I'm not going to insult my listeners by having the other side of that story, that is nothing more than prejudicial journalism, which absolutely is scary in a free society.
It is. And journalism went down the toilet when they started the 24-hour news. It is more entertainment. It is attracting viewers. That's all they go for. They don't go for the facts. They don't go for the news, and they don't report the news. They go for the stories that attract an audience, which their ratings show it. And CNN's ratings are in the toilet.
Yeah. I got to tell you, though,
NBC.
It's not just on a national level, Doug. I got to tell you what happened here. Over the last 3 months, I've been attacked by some liberals in this area that have said that, you distort the facts. You gloss up the story to make it more theatrical. And I talked to one of these people on the phone about 3 weeks ago, and I said, I appreciate and respect your allegation. Now, what story are you referring to? And there was a real pause on the end of the phone line, and this gentleman said, well, I can't recall exactly what story it was, but I know that you glossed those up for theatrics. I said, please, sir, you made an allegation that I have changed or altered the facts on a story to make it more interesting. Please, so I can apologize on the air, tell me what I glossed up. And you know what he did, like a lot of liberals do? He hung up the phone.
Exactly. He has no facts to back up his statements.
Yeah.
And I like the way Tucker's handling some of those liberals when they get on there and they start debating and says, well, Trump's allegations, his association with Russia.
Yeah.
And he says, what facts?
Show me the truth.
And they just keep hammering
Yeah.
and keep hammering.
Okay, I got to tell you this. Did you watch the news and you study the news quite a bit? Did you happen to see the interview that Ivanka Trump had on CBS yesterday? Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, my goodness. Did you hear about it?
I just about a 30-second spot on it.
Okay, well, she's being interviewed, and in the interview, it's former Oprah girlfriend, this Gail, and I can't remember her last name, is doing the interview, and she said in the interview, are you complicit with your father's administration? Now, if you look up the word complicit, it means like maybe you're involved in wrongdoing or with a gang member or something like that. You can draw your own negative connotation on that word complicit. And that's the way it was stated to her. And all of a sudden, the camera shifted right over to Ivanka Trump. And her eyes narrowed. And her jaw was set hard as a rock. And she fired back, if you mean complicit to trying to do good for the country and people, then I'm complicit. And the negative right there was her eyes. If I was that Gail from CBS, I would have backed up my chair and got out of Dodge City, because the fire in Ivanka Trump's eyes said it all.
I did see that, a little bit of that, and her answer was so spot on.
Yep.
To throw it right back in that gal's face.
Absolutely. But you see, that goes back to what I said yesterday to Senator Mike Crapo. I said to him, and if you were listening, this is the truth. It's on tape. I said, put your big boy pants on. Act like you won, because you did win the election. You have control of the House, the Senate, and the Oval Office. And tell the Democrats, if they don't get out of the way, you're not going to step around. You're going to step over them.
Exactly. And that's the way it should be. And did you see, there's a video clip out where it shows when Harry Reid enacted that nuclear option, at the Senate to pass a bunch of judges and stuff.
Yeah.
How the media was praising him, and how all of the Democrats were praising him. And now listen to them when the threat's coming back their way.
Yeah, well, see, they got the tennis shoe on the wrong foot. It's not fitting for them. Hey, I got to run and do a commercial break. Thanks, buddy.
But hey, everybody, remember your senior centers.
All right.
If you can, help them when you can.
God bless you, man. Thanks.
God bless.
Have a good day. Hey, don't forget our dear friends. I talked to Zach yesterday. Zach, if you've got those figures and those estimates for me, let me know. Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Number to call old Zach and the rest of the crew, 878-2091, and they sponsor Dr. History on Tuesdays at 10:06. Don't forget, they've got that luxury vinyl planking. That is beautiful for your home. And they've got all your overhead doors and your interior doors, and they can help send over a contractor to do the installation work. Great people, Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, sponsoring Dr. History. Hey, that big Women's Expo is coming up on the 13th. Oh, my goodness. It's right around the corner. They're going to have excellent speakers, excellent booths. They're representing various businesses. Southern Idaho Women's Expo at the Burley Best Western Inn, April 13th. Doors open at 9 a.m., and it's sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance. And by the way, get your tickets in advance. Call the chamber office, $20, and at the door, $30. So save $10 right now, 679-4793. Southern Idaho Women's Expo on the 13th. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. To go along with the stupidity of the Democrats. And somebody said to me the other day, aren't you afraid of offending some people? Well, look, I didn't choose their party for them. If they want to belong to a negativity party, a party of nothing as far as just wailing and moaning and crybabying, then fine. That's the Democrats right now. Last night, Senator Merkley, a Democrat from Oregon, he stood up all night long on the Senate floor in a diatribe against Neil Gorsuch for the Supreme Court. I cannot believe the stupidity that's coming out of some of their mouths. Dianne Feinstein, well, I don't think I'm going to be able to vote for him because he's an original constitutionalist. What? Isn't that exactly what we need to go by what our forefathers laid out for this great nation? It's not a living, changeable document, for heaven's sakes. But when Feinstein said that, I looked at the TV and I thought, the woman needs to be in a home. And then this guy in his diatribe, and there's others that are going to stand up from the Democrats, and all they are is playing the crybaby card because of Garrett Merrill. I always say that name wrong, and I apologize for that. And they didn't get their way with him. Well, that's tough. Times are tough out west. The wagon train left and you missed the wagon. I can't help it. But Merrick Garland was the Democrats' choice. He was a bad choice, and nobody wanted him, so okay, that's over. Now we've got Neil Gorsuch. That is absolutely a good choice for the Supreme Court, a fair choice, an honest choice. And the Democrats can't buy this. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Another ESPN reporter has been fired and moved to a minuscule job because she voiced conservative values. And this isn't the first time. Stand by, I'll tell you more about that. Right now, I want to tell you about some really, really nice people at Autumn Haven. Oh, my goodness. I'm very honored and proud that they gave me a call, and they said, we'd like to come on your program, and I said, absolutely. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. I love that name and their location, Christian Way. It's the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area, and they make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. You know, they really treat their residents with such kindness and such concern so that they're involved and they're doing things and going to community events. And Autumn Haven invites the public to come by and visit their facility anytime for tours and check them out. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, by the way, too, Ag Express is looking for drivers. If you're not aware of that, you should be. I've been telling you that for the last couple of weeks. And they're looking for folks that might even be retired folks. That's right. And you can work around a great schedule of maybe 2 or 3 days a week, whatever works best for you. And you're home every night, and you're using new and maintained equipment, vacations available, great vacation schedules, and benefit programs. My goodness, Ag Express. Call them today. Dale and Paul at 438-8886. Alan in Twin Falls, 731-2495, and Russ in Burley, 431-7175. Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for you. Okay. What happened? How many of you folks, and I know this is for the ones that watch NBA basketball, but the ESPN basketball game show host, Sage Steele, she is a very diminutive but yet very forceful host of the program, and she absolutely can lead the likes of Jalen Rose and everybody else on the program to where they should be, what they should be talking about, and when. Well, she is being replaced from that NBA show. Why? Well, I'll tell you. She spoke inconsiderately against, now this is ESPN's reason, against Black Lives Matter. Yeah, she is not in favor of Black Lives Matter, and she is black, by the way. I thought I'd just throw that in. She's not in favor of the Black Lives Matter, and the way that they conduct themselves and the way that they have tried to basically shut down roadways, bridges, and block and barricade other parts of travel, etc. And she said that on the air. She's not in favor of it. Why? Because she was flying from one NBA game to another NBA game to do the openings of the television show, and she missed a flight because the Black Lives Matters were standing around blocking traffic and just throwing everything into a tailspin so people couldn't get on their planes. It was a mess. And she said that on the air, which is honesty. Well, it doesn't look like she's going to have a chance to say anything again. Because ESPN has a track record, and I want the record to show this. I am absolutely against the very close-minded, absolutely liberal bent of ESPN. I don't like what they've done to other commentators. I don't like what they've allowed liberal commentators to do that conservatives couldn't. And I think it's repulsive. They have a track record of letting conservative voices all of a sudden disappear, as is the case now with Sage Steele, the ESPN basketball host. Gone. Didn't conform to our liberal ways. We've got to get rid of her. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Hey, today up in Salmon, all the festivities start for the big Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale. Oh, my goodness sakes, Fred Snook and the boys and gals up there. It is going to be a ripping good sale, 45th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale. And, of course, the activities continue, wolf howling contests, and then tomorrow they're going to have all kinds of ranch horse competitions, and at 6 p.m. the 17th annual mule sale, and on Saturday the 45th annual Salmon Select Horse Sale. And I understand they've got horses coming in from all over the country. That's, of course, the 45th annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale in Salmon at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds. You get up there this weekend and enjoy. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We're going to do the weather, and when I get back from the weather, I want you to just close your eyes for a minute. And if you're driving, please just close one eye. And just imagine Elizabeth Warren as president. Oh, boy. I know, some of you almost ran in the barrel pit. Easy. I'll come back and we'll talk about that in just a minute. It's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by the Urgent Cares. Hello, Kyle James and his excellent staff at Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin, and Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. You know, for the cuts and the sprains and the strains, and I got the flu, and all that kind of thing. They're open 7 days a week, and believe me, minor emergencies, major care. They'll take care of you and your family at the Urgent Cares. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, today is going to be a nice day, but as we move closer to the weekend, it appears that a storm front is rolling in. Weather for today, partly cloudy skies, slightly breezy, winds out of the south 5 to 10 miles an hour, high of 65 is what we're expecting. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, low of 41. Tomorrow looks like the beginning of that storm front rolling in, mostly cloudy skies, high of 68, overnight low of 46. And then for Friday, 90% chance of rain showers in the forecast with a high of 58. That is your weather for 7-3.
Gina, thank you. Brought to you by Kyle James and his excellent staff at Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care in Twin Falls, and Jerome Urgent Care in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. Oh, and let's see real quick before I get too far down the line, and we'll talk about Elizabeth Warren. I want to remind you about our friends. Oh, my goodness, yes, at the Golden Valley Warehouse. What nice people they are, and they have been in business for over 30 years. Over 30 years of family business, providing the highest quality seed for you farmers this spring. So make sure that you get a hold of Scott and the crew at Golden Valley Warehouse, 1000 South, 468 West of Burley. Telephone number to call and ask questions, 678-7324. These are really good people, and you'll enjoy working with Golden Valley Warehouse, 1000 South, 468 West of Burley. You know, I listened to Elizabeth Warren on TV yesterday. This is one woman that I think everybody should be very, very concerned about. She is, I think when you look to the left on the needle gauge, where it'll go right to left, she has broken the needle. She is a very dangerous woman with what she proposes. She is a very leftist. There is no time or effort available from her for anyone else. As a matter of fact, she was making a speech and yelling and railing about getting rid of the voices like mine and others because we were not good for society. I'm sure there's probably some people in the audience that would agree with that. That's fine. I don't care. But she is dangerous. And honestly, I think that she is going to be one of the front runners from the Democratic Party for the 2020 presidential elections. I honestly think that that party, the Democratic Party, has tipped themselves over on their nose so far that they're going to look at her for possibly taking the front runner role. And that scares me. I'll guarantee you that Deanne and I have talked about if she ever had a chance of becoming president. I've got a couple of friends up in Canada that are real estate agents, and I'm gonna give them a call. This is insane. She rants and spouts and is basically a cheerleader for leftist incompetency. But yet she has followers. And she's making overtures to draw in the leftist thought of the young people that used to follow Bernie Sanders. Let's face it, Bernie's a memory. But some of the things that he said and some of the things that he proposed are going to be picked up and carried by the likes of Elizabeth Warren. She's a liar. She's a fraud. Oh, by the way, the liar term. Some people are saying, how do you know she's a liar? Well, first of all, think back, folks. About 18 months ago when she was sitting there saying, well, I'm a lot of my bloodline and my ancestry is Indian, Native American, so I qualify for this. She didn't have one drop of Native American or Indian blood in her system. Another lie. She just rants and spouts, and she is so negative about anybody that does not follow her perspective and her train of thought. And when she said we have to get rid of voices, conservative voices, like, I'm saying like mine and Limbaugh and anybody else, pretty scary. Elizabeth Warren. Watch out for her. Oh, let's see what else. Oh, did you hear what Cadbury Eggs is doing? I find this to be so repulsive, and I had Deanne pull a little bit of information on this. You know, Cadbury Eggs, and I got to admit that even though I'm a little bit overweight, during Easter time, I have Deanne go to the store and buy some Cadbury eggs. I love those creamy milk chocolate eggs with that filling on the inside. Well, a lot of people aren't aware of this, but they have started to take and are taking off the word Easter on their Easter eggs. because they want to be more in the effect of not offending non-Christians. So they're going to offend the Christians in favor of not offending the non-Christians. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
You know, when you were talking about Elizabeth Warren, without mentioning names, I told my wife, that's got to be Elizabeth Warren because it fits the mode.
Well, yeah, it is Elizabeth.
Makes her as popular with the left side as she'll say stuff that no one else would even utter.
She's
In other words, she's speaking how they really feel.
Yeah.
How they hate America and everything, but they don't want to come out and say it.
Elizabeth Warren is, I don't even know how to project what I think she is trying to be or really what she is. She reminds me of when she might have been in high school or college. If they were going to have some kind of a participatory event, she would have been the last one chosen. I mean, she is one of the homeliest, most vile-speaking women that I've ever heard, and I almost, underline the word almost, feel sorry for her.
Well, she is angry all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know what her background is as far as her family or anything, but she just wakes up in the morning and looks in the mirror and tells herself how ugly she is, and then goes from there.
You know, really, yeah, I know I'll get criticism over this, but she's not a woman that tries to portray a, how do I want to say, Deanne, what's a good term for this? She's not a woman that wants to portray, trying to put her best foot as far as looks forward. She is the epitome of a plain Jane and doesn't care what her hair looks like or her face. Never mind, Keith, hang up on this. I got to get out of this mess.
Okay, you have a wonderful day.
Okay, thank you. I'll tell you what. Oh, my goodness, Elizabeth Warren. She just wrinkles my skin. By the way, North Korea fired another missile, and then Fat Albert, better known as Kim Jong-un, said that after that test, that is another showing that they're going to come after us, the United States, and turn us into ashes. What a comforting thought on a Wednesday morning to have the little Pillsbury fat boy come out and say, well, we're going to go get the next test. Isn't going to be a test. Excuse me for choking again. But we're going to go after the United States and turn them into ashes. You know, how long are we going to put up with these threats, these little threats, and these issues of we're going to blow you off the map type thing? How long are we going to take this? I hope not long. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to tell you that I want to go back to these eggs real quick, the Cadbury eggs. A quick look is that the word Easter appears to have disappeared from the vocabulary of the chocolate makers, and they're taking off the word Easter, and they've replaced the word Easter with hunting eggs and mini eggs. And instead of an Easter bunny, they are calling it a chocolate bunny. You know, that offends me as a Christian. And I'm going to do all I can, including not this year having a Cadbury egg. I know it's going to be tough in the end, but no Cadbury eggs this year. And one of the spokespeople that was against what Cadbury eggs did said this: to drop Easter from Cadbury's Easter egg hunt, in my book, is tantamount to spitting on the grave of the original owner, Mr. Cadbury. And the marketing campaign not only does a disservice to the Cadburys, but also highlights the folly in airbrushing faith from Easter. Caller, quickly, I've got 1 minute. That's all. Good morning.
I have a feeling about the little Korean Pipsqueak. He is just like so many spoiled children all over the world. If he's not the center of attention, he doesn't care. He's going to throw a match into the fire.
Absolutely.
Or gas on the fire.
Yeah,
and that's all all. He wants to be recognized, and he thinks he's got to be the center of the universe.
He's got a huge ego, and unfortunately, a lot of weaponry that he wants to use against other people. And those kind of people with a mindset of they don't care, they bother, and they scare me, as they should all of us.
Yes, they should. And he needs to be taken out, and I don't know who wants to take the job, but it may have to be us.
Amen. Chris, good to hear from you. God bless you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Hey, don't forget Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with the big tire sale going on right now. Holy smokes, they've got the Mastercraft LTR, STR tire, mud and snow performance tire for your pickups and SUVs. Hopefully there won't be any more snow. But I'll tell you what, they've got all their tires on sale for this big spring tire sale. You better stop in and check it out today. My, you can save money and make sure that you can drive safely. Check out the front end alignments and the shocks and the struts and the batteries and the great brake service. They are the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with a big spring tire sale. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, and by the way, too, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering qualified rebates on Lennox home comfort systems, gas furnaces, air conditioners, heat pumps. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey's today at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Got to run. News next from CBS. I'll be back in 6. Can you imagine having to license and put possibly a microchip in your kitty cat? Oh, come on. Morning, everybody. Zeb at the ranch. Okay, Wheels, you can cut the music over there. Thank you. Thank you. I thought he was going to go on forever. Anyhow, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, our great advertisers, some of which like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. And believe me, they're loyal to the community and the people that they serve. And that is oh so true. We've been with them for quite a few years now, and the route service is absolutely on time all the time. And I want to tell you, too, that if you've got an event planned for this year, like outdoor concerts or a special birthday party or a wedding or a family reunion, you got to have the potties for your party. They've got all the porta potties. Yes, they do. You can't have a successful party without a potty. So make sure you give them a call at 734-6969. Always at your disposal, Western Waste Services. We're going to have a good friend of mine on the air in just a few minutes. I want to quickly remind everybody about the Southern Idaho Women's Expo coming up on the 13th. That's Thursday the 13th at the Best Western Burley Inn and Convention Center. And tickets are $20 in advance and $30 at the door. Well, save money. Call the Chamber of Commerce, 679-4793. Get your tickets now. Great spokespeople are going to be there. A lot of great, interesting speakers. You're going to love it. Sponsored by the Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, excuse me, and the Idaho Housing and Finance. Southern Idaho Women's Expo on the 13th. By the way, talking about our great folks in this area, I want to remind everybody that we have Vicky's back. That's right, on Mondays at 9:16. Vicky's Country Garden, and she's going to tell you all about how your garden grows and all about the landscaping and everything else. This is a wonderful lady celebrating 20 years in business. Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, and the number to call 438-5663. Mondays with Miss Vicky right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Don't forget that. Oh, and one final thought here real quick is I got to make some check marks here. I know Jack's chomping on the bit. Don't forget, too, that Ark Animal Hospital. And these are really good, caring people that have warm hearts for cold noses. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street in Hayburn. Number to call, 678-1177. A mixed animal practice, meaning big or small, they love them all. Dr. Bill, Dr. Liz, and the whole crew talked to Carrie yesterday. As a matter of fact, these are good people. Ark Animal Hospital. The number to remember, 678-1177. Right now, I'm going to go to the phone line because I get a chance to talk to one of my dear friends, and nobody knows more about the great outdoors than this man. Good morning, Jack Euler. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Well, I'm glad you got from behind that wheel of the car and slowed down for a few minutes, my friend.
I feel good just sitting down and relaxing for a minute.
Oh, I don't blame you. Jack, you have told us over the years on this program about the dangers of what the left loons and the environmentalists were trying to do with the re-implementation of bringing the wolf back into Idaho. And you were spot on as to what they were going to try to do with the word control. Now we are hearing scientists come out and say that the expansion of grizzly bear habitat is going to far exceed some of the confines of Yellowstone Park. What's going on here?
Well, it's not going to exceed. It has exceeded past Yellowstone Park. The grizzly bear is something that supposedly is an endangered species, and I've been to Jackson Hole in Fish and Game Commission meetings and listened to the things that are going on in Wyoming and that area right around the park. But the people in Idaho, what they don't realize is that we also have Yellowstone Park in Idaho, and those people that live near Yellowstone Park have the same problems. And I happen to have a cabin in Island Park, and I've got the same problems with grizzly bears, black bears, and wolves right in my backyard now, because my cabin is only about 15 miles the way the crow flies from Yellowstone Park.
Jack,
it's led to the fact that we used to let our kids out in the backyard, out in the forest, just run and play and have a good time in the forest. Today, you can't let them out without somebody with a gun to guard them. And that's what it's led to.
Jack, why is and how did this expansion take place? I mean, the grizzly bears have been so protected, and the environmentalists are sitting there smiling like big Cheshire cats because of the population expansion of the grizzly bears, as they are smiling over the wolves. What is this all amounting to? I mean, my goodness, like you said, you can't let kids play up by Island Park. Ranchers have got to be careful over in Wyoming when they're trying to run their cow business. This sounds really potentially like a big hazard that's going to get bigger and bigger every year.
It is. And the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has been totally unrealistic with ranchers. As one experience up at Jackson Hole with the Fish and Game Commission. I was there before I had to testify on wolves and listened to a guy from U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service give a spiel for 20 minutes on the grizzly bear. And he told Wyoming, if you do this, this, and this, you will soon be able to, within 2 to 3 years, get the grizzly bears delisted. Well, that has been about 10 years ago, but there was an interesting thing in that meeting. A guy got up in the back of the room and raised his hand, and he got up and he says, I'm 84 years old, and he said, I used to be on this commission, and he says, 10 years ago, you guys gave that same speech to us, and we did all of those things. We followed your instructions. We did what was asked of us, and they have not been delisted, and now you're telling us that, and still here we are another 10 years later, so 20 years down the road, and the states have tried to follow the rules and regulations, but the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has not delisted, and that's because of the environmental groups and the power that they have in Washington, D.C. with money.
Jack, let me ask you this question, and you mentioned about your cabin up at Island Park, etc., but what's it like? I have not had the occasion to go up to your cabin. I have not really had the occasion in the last few years to go up into that area very much. What is the feeling like when you're out in the woods? Does it kind of make the hair on the back of your neck stand up to know that there might be a grizzly bear around that next tree? What's it like up there?
Well, it's the forest is what it is. And we used to go up there and we'd cut wood and we'd have a good time. We'd have picnics and we would have cookouts outside of the cabin. But today everything has changed because of the surroundings and the things that are out in the forest today. I mean, we're right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable.
Jack, what about the range itself? Now, the headline of this story said that scientists predict expansion of U.S. grizzly bear habitat. Now, we think of the grizzlies like up in the Bob Marshall Wilderness up in Montana or northern Idaho or over in the Selway area, but is there a possibility that these bears might be migrating even down into areas like southern Idaho?
They're migrating farther out all the time because they have a range that they go, and the old boars will look for a new female, and they expand. They expand their territory because there's getting to be so many of them that they go to areas where that they have an area for themselves. But the thing is, anytime that here a few years ago on Aspen Ridge, where my cabin is, there was the Fish and Game captured 6 or 7 grizzlies that summer, and they moved them. And so they're being moved by a state agency, and they're being turned loose, and they won't tell you where they turn these bears loose. And I've tried to find out. They won't tell you.
Jack,
the territory is expanding, and I don't think the things that are going on is fair to people.
There was a comment that was made in the article in the paper, and I want to just read this and get your reaction. A gentleman that was in favor of the grizzly bear expansion said that these bears are going to be moving into the Wyoming range, a livestock-dense landscape, where this man said bear conflicts with livestock and humans are inevitable. Well, what about these ranchers? They're trying to make an honest living, and people that are maybe out enjoying maybe a hiking trail, or like yourself up at your cabin. This guy said bears are simply entering a landscape where the potential for conflict is greater. That doesn't bode well for the future, does it?
It doesn't. And let me give you an example of what's happened. Up there around the cabin, all bow hunters carry sidearms because of the grizzlies and the wolves in that area. Now, and especially the grizzlies. And there have been some grizzlies that have been found dead. Within a mile of my cabin, there was a sow and 2 cubs found dead that had been shot. They were shot by a bow hunter, but the things that are going on, and there's going to be conflict because they're moving into our area or the area where people live. And this is not a new thing for me to have a cabin up there, because I've had that since 1982. I mean, it's totally ridiculous what's been forced on us as people and as ranchers and all these other things.
Jack, what would you tell the audience? I mean, what changes have you had to do when you go up to your cabin? What precautions do you have to take? Any safety measures? I mean, what are your thoughts on this as far as the public? They should be aware that these are huge animals that have, most of the time, only thoughts of killing on their mind. What would you tell my audience that they need to be more safe and sure about?
Well, you don't turn your kids. If you're up there camping out in a trailer or something like that, you be careful of what kind of food you leave outside. You don't turn your kids out in the forest without somebody with them, with a gun, to protect the kids. And has anybody had to protect their kids? Yes, they have. And in fact, it wasn't a grizzly, but it was a black bear. It was 2 years ago. It was up in a tree, and there was 8 or 9 people that were stopped along the road there looking at this black bear up in a tree. Well, it was during bear season, and the guy stopped and went around and got over where it was legal to shoot. He shot the bear out of the tree right in front of the people. It was kind of funny, but there was a big story in the paper about that.
Uh-huh.
How somebody had guts enough to shoot this bear right in front of people. Well, the bears have moved into the people's place, and so why don't you have the opportunity to protect yourself?
What about that, though, Jack? What is happening with, I know that we had a lot of ramifications and repercussions over people that were shooting wolves that were attacking horses and livestock, and the environmentalists just tore their hair out and knelt down on their knees and were railing about how they have to stop that, and the wolves should have preference. What about up in the wilds? If you encounter a bear, what should a person do or not do?
Well, there is no 10J rule on the grizzlies like there is on the wolves. And what the 10J rule is the opportunity to protect yourself, and you can protect yourself. That rule is not in effect in this country against grizzlies. It is against wolves, but it is not against grizzlies. So against a grizzly, you do not have the legal right to protect yourself from a grizzly that is attacking you, your cattle, your horses, these type of things.
Let me ask you a speculative question.
It's terrible, the things that are going on and the things that have been pushed down our throat by the environmental groups.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question that is just purely your opinion. I don't normally ask for opinion questions. I want fact on this show, but I'm going to ask yours because you know so much about these issues. What about the future as far as the government? Are you seeing or contemplating that the federal government might try to make laws and regulations to where you, as a hiker, backpacker, cannot even pack a gun on federal lands because they're going to put the protection of the endangered species like the grizzly over human beings? Is that something that you're afraid of in the future?
It's already been written, but it hasn't been presented, but it is written. And is it going to be pushed and pushed? Yes, it is. And they're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. There's another interesting thing, since we're talking about grizzlies and island parkway. We used to see in our yard or on our property, we used to see quite a few moose. We don't see moose anymore. We used to see elk. We used to see deer. We used to see white-tailed deer, and we used to see mule deer. We don't see them anymore in our yards or on our property, and it's as a result of the predators that are preying on these animals. The moose I saw a show last night on Yellowstone Park, and it showed wolves and bears killing elk and buffalo. It never showed one moose. The moose are gone from Yellowstone. We used to see a lot of moose up there. I mean, they used to be all over. We don't see them anymore.
Yeah.
Things have changed. If people don't think this has had an effect, people are just wrong.
Yep.
Because there is an effect on this.
Jack Oyler, a dear, dear friend and one man that I really trust. Jack, God bless you. Take care. Sit in that lazy boy and enjoy. Thanks for coming on the program this morning.
Well, I do have to go to a small drive today, but it's small.
Okay, Jack. God bless you, man.
I appreciate it.
All right, sir.
Time, and thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Like I said, a dear friend, has been a friend of mine for well over 20 years. Jack Oyler, thank you very much. Hey, by the way, I told you earlier that today is the starting point of all the activities up at the 45th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale up in Salmon with our dear friend Fred Snook and all the folks at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds. Oh, my. Tomorrow they're going to have great big events like the big sale parade going down Main Street and the wolf howling contest and the mule sale Calcutta. Friday, the big mule sale at 6 p.m. Saturday, the big horse sale at 1 p.m. All of this and so much more at the 45th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale in Salmon this weekend. Don't you miss it. Get on up there. Salmon, the place for the big horse and mule sale. Oh, my goodness sakes. And also, I want to remind you about our dear friend. Hello. How are you this morning, Joel Heward? My goodness sakes, what a nice, nice man and his family and his staff at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call for more information about arrangements for a funeral. I mean, everything is thrown up in the air. And people say, oh, my goodness, I don't know what to do in the short time. Well, let them help. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. Always serving you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please remember that number, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. And, by the way, earlier this morning we had Cade Rogge on the program, and he was talking about that great big sale that's coming up this Saturday at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds, and it's going to be that big spring community sale. Oh, my, managed by Rogge Auction Service. And you better, there's still time to get your consignments in, and they want quality consignments. Call Ron Rogge at 431-6187 or Cade Rogge at 431-0074. Great big spring community sale at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds this Saturday at 10 a.m., managed by Rogge Auction Service. Going to be a good one. You'd better be there. In just a few moments, we're going to have another good friend of mine on the radio, and that's Bill Bullard with RCAF USA. We're going to talk to him about various subjects, so stand by. I think you'll find it really interesting and enlightening. But first of all, let's talk about what's going on over at Let's Ride. Ooh, baby, I'm telling you, it's that time of the year. If you've got ATVs and you're waiting to go up in the hills and hit all the trails, well, you need to get them serviced and ready to go. Well, I'll tell you what, now's the time to get over there and let their service department make sure everything is going to be ship-shape and ready to go. And if you don't have any ATVs or side-by-sides or dirt bikes, this is where the fun is sold. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Fridays, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. Let's Ride. Yep, where the fun is sold. Good folks over there. And another business that I really want to highlight as I knock my microphone over and make a whole bunch of noise is the company called Cameron and Siemens Insurance. They know all about life insurance. They know all about health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, etc. And they are very dedicated and responsive to your needs. So don't look any further. They can help. They will help. Cameron Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call for an appointment today, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Really good folks. Oh, and by the way, too, Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for you. You better believe it. They've got a whole bunch of telephone numbers for you to call because they're looking for folks that want to work full or part-time, and they're looking for retired folks that want to get involved in driving, and they've got new and maintained equipment, great vacation schedules, and a super benefit package. Ag Express. Call Dale and Paul at 438-8886, Allen in Twin Falls at 731-2495, and Russ in Burley at 431-7175. Yes, sir. Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for you. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I get a chance to say good morning to a very nice gentleman that is the CEO of RCAF USA. Good morning, Bill Bullard. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Doing great and glad to be here again.
Well, I'm going to ask you this easy question first. Kind of give us a rough synopsis going into spring, the status of the cattle business on behalf of RCAF USA. How does it look to you, Bill?
Well, precarious, because we're seeing cattle prices begin to strengthen. But, of course, most of the cow-calf producers are going to sell in the fall. And so we continue to have tight supply situations. We continue, however, to have imports that are suppressing domestic prices. And when we saw what happened just a couple of years ago, you know, we're worried about whether or not we can continue to rely on market fundamentals or if there is simply too much manipulation going on in our industry to provide any level of confidence. And remember, over the past 30-some years, we've lost over 500,000 producers. And in 2014, we woke up and realized that our herd size had shrunk to the smallest level in 7 decades. And then in 2015, we woke up and realized that the production of beef in the United States was at the lowest level in over 20 years. Not since 1993, the year before NAFTA, had we produced such a small volume of beef. And so this is an indication of an industry in serious decline that needs a new direction. And so really the future of the industry, from the standpoint of people who are in it and those who want to get in it, the future is going to depend on whether or not we change the course of this industry to prevent the highly concentrated meat packers from essentially capturing the control over the live cattle supply chain and then treating our industry like they already treat the hog and the poultry industries. And those are completely vertically integrated industries. And the important thing to there is vertical integration kills competition. And that's what's happening to our industry. The 4 largest meat packers want to vertically integrate the industry and control it from birth to plate.
Yeah.
They don't need to own it. They want to control it. So that's not a simple answer to your simple question.
Yeah, but Bill, wait a minute. You used a word in your last dissertation there that really kind of scared me, and it was the word manipulation. I don't like that word at all because it refers to maybe some back room, cigar smoke-filled room with people trying to coerce and arm twist and make prices or downgrade prices or supply. Really, what did you mean by manipulation?
Well, one way that we know the markets are being manipulated is that the same packers that we rely on to buy our cattle, let's use JBS, a Brazilian-owned firm, second largest beef packer in the United States, slaughters about 25,000 head of cattle every single day. So this firm is who the cattle producer relies on to give them a competitive price for their cattle. But this firm is also a major importer and is now bringing beef into the United States from Brazil. The reason they're bringing the beef in from Brazil is to substitute domestic production and to leverage down domestic prices. So here's how manipulation occurs. Our cattle prices begin to rally because the law of supply and demand says our supplies are tight and demand for beef is strong. So fed cattle prices start to increase. Immediately what the packers will do is reach out to foreign countries and bring in beef into the United States, and it will not be differentiated. It will not be labeled. And they'll market that beef in the United States, and they will satisfy domestic demand with an imported product that is cheaper. And as a result, the price rally in the cattle industry ends, and in fact, prices are suppressed. That's one area of manipulation. Another is by virtue of their market power, the 4 largest meat packers can accumulate large volumes of cattle outside of the competitive price discovery market. In other words, they'll go out and contract for cattle, but not negotiate a price. They'll just contract to have the cattle committed to them with a price to be determined later. When they do that, they shrink the cash market so that it becomes ultra thin and incapable of predicting a competitive price. So the 4 major packers, for example, will acquire 80% of their cattle needs through non-negotiated means. And then all they have to do is stay out of the negotiated market, and they will lessen demand for domestic cattle and lower the price. And once the price is lowered in that cash discovery market, that lower price is then used as a base price for the 80% of the cattle that they acquired through their non-priced means. That is manipulation. It's called captive supply manipulation. And so our market is being exploited by a handful of packers that enjoy tremendous market power and are playing both sides of the fields. They're buying cattle from producers, but they're exporting meat from foreign countries in order to diminish demand for domestic cattle. They're working against the interests of independent producers.
Yeah.
The solution is we need more packers, but we're not going to get there very quickly. So in the meantime, we better have Congress and the U.S. Department of Agriculture help us establish the rules of competition so that hundreds of thousands of disaggregated independent cattle producers who literally raise millions of cattle that work their way up and are sold to just four packers that control 85% of the industry, that playing field needs to be leveled. And the only way to do that, if you do not have a fully competitive arena to work in, the only other way to do that is to regulate. And we need rules of competition so that the meat packers cannot exercise the inherent market power they possess because of their tremendous dominance in the marketplace.
Bill, let's talk about the American consumer for a moment. When we go to the grocery store, and I'm not trying to act holier than anyone, but it's just the way I am, I want to buy American products that are grown, processed, and packaged right here in the United States of America, because I want to support our American agricultural producers, but be it the crops or be it cattle. But the country of origin labeling kind of fell through the cracks, and there's been a lot of people that won't support it. And I think the American consumer, if given the opportunity, would rather, if it even costs more, to buy American beef and other commodities rather than support other nations, because you don't know exactly what you're getting. Am I wrong in my thinking?
Well, you're absolutely right. In fact, we continue to push to reinstate the mandatory country of origin labeling that Congress repealed, and they did so simply out of political convenience. The World Trade Organization, at the behest of our multinational meat packers in Canada and Mexico, ruled that our country of origin labeling law discriminated against foreign cattle. And Congress, even before that complaint was completed, Congress repealed COOL. And that was the year after the House of Representatives repealed COOL, we saw a 15% increase in imports into this country that caused our prices to fall further and faster than in any time in history. But we now import from more than 20 countries. We import beef from countries like Nicaragua, Honduras, Croatia, Mexico, Brazil, Australia, Ireland, Poland, Uruguay, 20 countries. And clearly, those countries do not have the infrastructure necessary to maintain the high level of health and safety that we have in the United States. And so in order to allow the imports from those countries, the United States back in the mid-'90s actually lowered our standard. It used to be they'd have to have systems that were at least equal to the United States. Now they only need to be equivalent, which means close enough. And so with a country of origin label, consumers could decide from which country they have the most confidence in their food safety system and then purchase their beef from that country. But the meat packers don't want consumers to know where the beef came from. In fact, they filed a lawsuit to block consumers from knowing where their beef came from. And that's because it's so profitable for them to bring in this cheaper product. And the reason it's profitable is because by bringing in this cheaper product, they lower the price of cattle domestically. And when you're slaughtering, the four packers slaughter about 550,000 head of cattle a week. You lower them by $1, you're talking real money in a very short period of time.
Yeah.
So they use the imports to leverage down domestic prices that allows them to earn windfall profits in this industry. And the consumers are being exploited just like the producers, because the consumers are buying beef from the grocery store that is undifferentiated. And so if it is foreign beef, the packers paid less for it, and yet the price of the beef to the consumer will remain as if it were produced under the good name and reputation of the U.S. farmer and rancher. And so consumers are being deceived, and that's why we need country of origin labeling, so consumers have the same information as to the origins of the beef that the meat packers already have. The meat packers know the origin. They're just not sharing that information with consumers.
But, Bill, how do the strings get pulled? And I hate to sound naive on this, but how do the strings get pulled so that protection for the consumer and buying American goods should be first and foremost? Who do we have to talk to? Who do we have to dethrone? And who do we have to pull a power play on to make sure the American consumer and buy America first is a prerequisite? What has to happen?
Well, call the White House and keep calling the White House, because the new president, President Trump, said there's two rules. You will buy American and you will hire American. Well, we think that fits like a glove with our request to reinstate country of origin labeling, because consumers cannot choose to buy American if the products in the marketplace are undifferentiated. And so we think that country of origin labeling is precisely what President Trump needs in order to fulfill his goal of encouraging Americans to buy American. And if we're going to put America first, then we should give our U.S. consumers the opportunity to express their nationalism, express their patriotism by supporting the family farmers and ranchers that produce the food in this country, rather than to give all of the control to the meat packers to let them decide on their own from which of the 20 countries they import from will they source the beef to satisfy America's demand for beef in the grocery store. That control needs to be in the hands of consumers, not in the hands of dominant packers. And so I would strongly urge listeners to call the White House, call President Trump. We don't have a Secretary of Agriculture yet, so call the White House and urge them to reinstate mandatory country of origin labeling so consumers can tell where their beef came from.
Absolutely. Bill, final thought here this morning in this last question. What about trade agreements? I mean, we've seen the negativity with North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, and then we really saw what I thought would have been a real pitfall, the Trans-Pacific trade agreements. What about trade agreements with the Trump campaign that are going to put America first and not third or fourth?
Well, it was extremely refreshing to hear President Trump, when he was a candidate, say that our trade policies are stupid and they're harming America. Because we've been saying that for 20 years, but it has fallen on deaf ears. We finally have a president who realizes that what we need to achieve is balanced trade, not just more trade. And let's use the North American Free Trade Agreement as an example, because the conventional cattle industry representatives will say, we can't do anything to upset that trade agreement because Canada and Mexico are so important as trading partners. And they are. They buy about $2 billion worth of beef and cattle from the United States of America. So that half of the statement is true. But here's the other half. We buy from Canada and Mexico over $4 billion of beef and cattle from those countries. So if you and I were sitting at the card table, and every time I gave you $4 billion, you gave me $2 billion back. I give you $4 billion, you give me $2 billion back. You'll play that game until I quit. And Donald Trump understands that. He said, that's stupid. Why are we allowing Canada and Mexico to accumulate a tremendous trade deficit in the trade of cattle and beef? And why aren't we trying to balance that trade so that our cattle producers benefit, as opposed to giving the packers the ability to strategically bring in the Canadian and Mexican product into the United States whenever we have a price rally to suppress the price rally? So we are very pleased with the current position of our new president. We have spoken with Peter Navarro, who is the new president's director of the National Trade Council, and he's the one that is helping to lead the negotiations to renegotiate NAFTA. We're asking him already. We've asked him to reinstate country of origin labeling and change the rules of origin. We have to stop allowing the meat packers from importing cattle from Canada and Mexico, slaughtering it in a U.S. packing plant, and then shipping the beef duty-free to South Korea right now under our free trade agreements as a product of the United States of America. The current rule of origin says the country of origin is in whatever country the animal was slaughtered. So today we're importing live cattle from Canada and Mexico and putting a U.S. sticker on the beef. Tomorrow we'll likely be importing live cattle from Australia and Brazil and putting a U.S. sticker on it and shipping it around the world duty-free as if it were a USA product. That undermines the integrity and strength of our U.S. cattle ranching industry, and it has to stop.
Absolutely.
And we think President Trump is going to help us stop that.
You know, Bill, I always enjoy having you on. You're a straight shooter and very knowledgeable. The CEO of RCAF USA, Bill Bullard. God bless you, man. Come back soon. Thank you for all the information this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you, Zeb.
All right, sir. Bill Bullard, and tells it like it is with the cattle industry, and I really appreciate and respect his thoughts out here this morning. Thank you very much. Holy cow, it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you this hour. I got to get my paper over here. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. These are great people that have been serving with accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. All your tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, retirement planning. Oh my goodness, they are professional. They are good. Locations in Burley and Rupert serving you. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, they bring you the weather.
Well, today is going to be a nice day, but as we move closer to the weekend, it appears that a storm front is rolling in. Weather for today, partly cloudy skies, slightly breezy, winds out of the south 5 to 10 miles an hour, high of 65 is what we're expecting. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, low of 41. Tomorrow looks like the beginning of that storm front rolling in, mostly cloudy skies, high of 68, overnight low of 46. And then for Friday, 90% chance of rain showers in the forecast with a high of 58. That is your weather. Where's Evan Duran?
Great job, Gina. Thank you very much. Brought to you by the professionals, the CPAs that know their business and can help you with yours. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And again, locations at 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Call them today. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Pardon me. Trying to get rid of that sore throat, and it's not working, so I apologize. Let's see what else have I got here real quick. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. Yes, I want to take some time and talk about these wonderful people at Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. You know, they are the only assisted living facility in Rupert, and they are able to provide one-on-one care. They really take care of their folks, and they invite the public to stop by the facility anytime for tours and check them out, and they make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. What are they located? 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Telephone number to call, 436-3200. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. We've got time for a couple of calls. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. Like to talk to you about any subject. Did you hear about the op-ed that was in the Pittsburgh newspaper? And this editorial page ran a story about no more police carrying guns. Yeah, they were really against policemen carrying guns. And especially policemen that may be patrolling around school areas and on school grounds to keep the kids safe. This op-ed, this writer of this op-ed said that it really isn't sitting well with the kids, and it causes them to have trauma, and it sends a bad message to our youth, and so therefore the police should stop carrying guns. Insanity. Absolute insanity. You know what? I'm glad to see the police wearing guns. I'm glad if the police are patrolling near a school ground so we don't have more absolutely heartbreaking experiences like what happened back east and also in Colorado. I am glad there's a show of force against the bad guys and the bad people in this world. What in the world is going on with the insanity of these liberal loons that are trying to say, oh, Mr. Policeman, hide your gun, don't even wear it, because you might create a bad image. This is nuts. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Well, you know, before NAFTA, our trade deficit with Canada and Mexico was almost zero. And for years and years, it's been about $150 billion between the two of them. And so then this country of origin labeling, but, you know, you talk about not only NAFTA, but the Korean agreement. So we bring in, I don't know how many Hyundais and Kias and things of that nature, millions, and they only allow $1,075,000. But if you buy one of those vehicles, American vehicle, you get the equivalent of the IRS audit comes along with it. So, this is why Trump knows, and everybody has studied the fact that these things are really bad and they need to be renegotiated.
Absolutely. You know, these trade agreements, when they use the word free trade agreement, and I just give me a short answer on this because I'm almost out of time, Adrian, but these free trade agreements, it seems like we're helping every other country elevate themselves in prosperity, but condemning ourselves to lower prices. Am I wrong?
Well, absolutely. Every one of these agreements has been detrimental. Yeah, there's certain segments of the ag economy that have prospered or have done well. But overall, the U.S. economy has suffered tremendously. We've lost 60 or 70,000 manufacturing plants, millions of jobs since NAFTA came online. And thank God the Trans-Pacific Partnership would have gone through, obviously, if Hillary would have got in there. But I can guarantee you, it's great that Trump has been taking a stand, and we need to get hold of him and our elected people and say, this has got to stop.
I agree. Got to run, Adrian, but excellent points this morning, and I know you know a lot about trade agreements. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it.
You bet. Great program.
All right. Thank you, sir. By the way, I want to remind you, too, that Ramsey Heating and Electric can offer rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Yes, they can, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Yes, they've been serving you at Ramsey's for well over 50 years. So call the number 678-0459, 678-0459, and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. There you go. There is a very troubling story that I just was made aware of early this morning with some friends of mine back in Washington, D.C., and we're going to have a lady by the name of Rachel Alexander on next, and at 10:06. And it's a story about a northern Idaho school that secretly was recruiting children for a gay-straight alliance meetings in the school. And I'll tell you what, parents are outraged. We're going to have that coming up at 10:06. And then at 10:32, if you really want to know and are questioning where we are probably with biblical prophecy and Armageddon and everything else, we invited back Dr. Bob Thiel from California, and he's going to be on the show at 10:30 this morning. So a couple of great guests coming up in the next hour. So stay tuned, Zeb at the Ranch. Right now we're going to send it back over to Wheels. He's going to take us up to CBS News, and we will be back in just a few minutes. Oh, here we go. Good morning. Swinging into hour number 3 this morning on Wednesday, April 5th. My goodness sakes, good morning. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, with a great big spring tire sale going on right now. And then also some of our great advertisers, like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service at 734-6969. We're going to have our guest with us momentarily, but I want to remind all the women out there, hey, gals, the Southern Idaho Women's Expo is going to be April 13th. Next Thursday, sponsored by the Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance. The doors will swing open at 9 o'clock in the morning, and there's going to be just all kinds of booth space there with different businesses represented. And get your tickets now in advance. They're $20, at the door $30, so save some money. Call 679-4793, the Chamber of Commerce office, and they can and will help you. Southern Idaho Women's Expo next Thursday, April 13th at the Burley Best Western Inn. Oh, and by the way, I got to tell you, the other day we had Jason Lee on the phone with us, and he really is a sharp young man, and he tells us that they're having a new no-tax plan. That's right, a big sale, the no-tax plan sale. And I'll tell you what, they have really some super buys for you, especially on recliners. Oh, you need a new recliner? Well, man, they've got the best, and what a selection. And don't forget all the Beauty Rest mattresses. Close out on Beauty Rest mattresses, and they've got living room sets at prices that are going to knock your boots off low. All of this and more at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More, 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Well, right now we're going to go to the phone line. And I've had this lady on the program many, many times in the past. She is a senior editor at The Stream, a political columnist. And I love this line. I had to chuckle when I read this. She said she is a recovering attorney. Hello, Rachel Alexander. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on again, Zeb.
Well, it's my pleasure. You moved to Arizona, didn't you?
I am back in Arizona, and life is good. I even have a landline, so you can actually hear me clear now.
Oh, I'm so glad. Listen, Rachel, I was absolutely stunned this morning when I heard this story about a northern Idaho school that basically was going behind parents' backs, and they were secretly recruiting children for a gay-straight alliance. What is this?
Yeah, I mean, the violations are just incredible. I mean, this isn't just like, some students started a gay-straight alliance club. This is about teachers who went out of their way to start a gay-straight club and then secretly invite students who they handpicked to attend the meetings. And, they violated all kinds of different rules and laws, from, taking these students off campus to meetings, not even getting a permission slip from their parents, and then continuing to fight once they got caught. Once they got caught, they said they're still going to continue bringing these kids to these meetings and not telling their parents. They're not going to release the names of the kids to the parents. I mean, this is a mess. And even if you have a certain opinion about, gay straight clubs and transgender issues, because they were taking one student who's confused about their gender to this club without telling the parents, it's the laws they're violating. We can all agree that, the school district violating all these rules and laws is just flat out wrong.
Rachel, as a parent and now a grandparent, if a teacher at any school had that in-your-face attitude with me, I mean, heads would roll. I would not stop on the bowling alley of life until I had knocked over every pin that stood in my way. Teacher, principal, superintendent, whatever. You are not ever going to take away my rights and my beliefs as a parent from my child.
Yeah, and the parents of one student are probably going to do that. The student who's confused about their gender. When the school would not back down, the parents pulled their student out of the school. They're represented by Liberty Counsel. They're considering legal action at this point. And I'm telling you, this is one of the most egregious cases I have come across. I mean, even the state's Code of Ethics for Teachers says you cannot use your institutional privileges for the promotion of political activities. And that includes starting a partisan political club. And they've got this principal secretly recorded on tape, where she says, we started, the faculty and me, we started this club for the students, and we're going to eventually progress into political activism, like in a year or so. They're planning political activism. So just one violation after another, Zeb.
Rachel, this is the Forrest M. Byrd Charter School in Sandpoint, Idaho. What were they trying to accomplish? What your bottom line on this? What do you think they were trying to accomplish, and what were they trying to get through to the kids? What was the reasoning behind this? I'm absolutely stumped on this.
I usually think it is to get the children to view gay rights and transgender issues the way they do. It's all about this group mind think. So let's say you're a Christian student and the Bible teaches you that homosexuality is immoral. They don't want you to have that viewpoint, and so they are trying to force you by using their influence as faculty and the principal, to undermine what you're being taught at church or by your parents, which is just wrong because as minors, parents get some say over what their children do. And
Absolutely.
when it comes to political issues and political indoctrination, that's why we have clear prohibitions set in place so teachers aren't able to use their influence like this over minor children.
I am so incensed over this story that after this program is over this morning, I'm going to do more research on this, and I'm going to do more condemnation, not only to the school and these teachers. And here's a point in your story that you had written that really stood out to me, and I did some of my own research and found out that it is 100% true. The quote was, according to the National Institutes of Health, as many as 94% of students questioning their gender identify with their biological gender by 18. So in other words, if they may be confused as juveniles, like maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, they finally come into accord with reality and maturity and adulthood, and they understand their biological gender. And I am incensed with these parents that are pushing for not only gender change, but also surgeries and other things for little children that really have not even had a chance to grow up. What are your thoughts on this?
Exactly. Teenagers are so susceptible to influence at that age. They've got developing hormones, so they're going to be swinging in all kinds of directions as they're figuring things out. And if you try to influence them, one way, they're more susceptible to influence. And so considering, as many as 94% of them are going to end up their regular biological gender, in just a couple years, why push them in the other direction? There was an article in the Daily Mail yesterday, I don't know if you heard about this, person who had 3 different sex changes over in England because they just thought that they should be a woman, and then they decided they wanted to go back to being a man, and then finally they decided they want to go back to be a woman again. And the person just sounds frankly miserable, going back and forth and spending their whole life confused like that. And so when you see people like that, you're like, the parents should be respected for not wanting their child to maybe end up in a lifestyle like that.
And I want to get back to the school for a minute, because woe betide any school that thinks that once they have the parent's child at 7:15 in the morning or 7:30, whatever, that they have complete ownership over what goes in and out of that child's mind. There was a comment made in the story that you had written, said the school defiantly asserted that it will not comply with the demand for its teachers to be present in a supervisory rather than activist capacity. It sounds to me like they're just bowing their neck and saying, we don't care about the parents, we're going to do it our way, and everybody else be damned.
Yeah, I don't know how much you know about Sandpoint. I bet you know a lot more than I do, but I've been told that you've got a lot of these activist leftists that have moved into that little community, and they think of themselves as activists just like, these far-left people in these big blue cities across America, and they think they're just going to ram it down our throats, and we're going to be forced to comply because they've got momentum going behind them in this, whole indoctrination movement that wants to make everyone think there's only one way you can believe when it comes to, transgender and gay issues, and everybody else must be stamped out. So I don't know whether they think they're going to get into court and they're going to find a liberal activist judge to back them up and, strike down some of these rules that have, long protected parents. But they're very arrogant, and they're going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money, too, if they get sued.
What would happen on a reversal of the story, Rachel, if a group of students got together and said, enough is enough, and we're going to start an ultra-conservative family values club? I would bet you that would be shut down in a heartbeat by the administration and the teaching staff. What do you think?
Yeah, if it violated any little rule, I'm sure the teachers and the staff would be very heavy-handed against them. And, my sister, I probably have told you, teaches Bible clubs in schools for Child Evangelism Fellowship. And they're always trying to find ways to kick them out. And she, in fact, bought a house across from the school because a lot of them believe eventually they are going to get kicked out, and the kids are going to have to just, go across the street after school or something. So that's right. They're already coming after these Christian types of clubs, and you just have to follow the rules so closely if you're on that side of the fence, because you don't expect a break from the faculty.
What about the parents, though, Rachel? I just absolutely think parents really are the cause, and I'm careful about how I use the word cause here, but I think they're absolutely causing some of these problems because of one reason. They're not participatory in what's going on with their schools and their children. They're just basically saying goodbye to them when they get on the bus and saying hello to them when they come home at night. I think people need to be much more involved. What are your thoughts?
I agree with you, but there has been a fundamental shift in schools between now and when you and I went to school. I was a step-parent for many years, and all I know is there was no effort by the teachers to ever meet the parents, to have parent-teacher meetings like we used to, like our parents used to when we were students. There's kind of this attitude now that parents aren't going to be involved. We're not going to encourage them to be involved. And the teachers have just completely taken over everything, the teachers and administration. And it's almost a little Orwellian, in my opinion, in that parents are so excluded.
Is it, and you write about these stories all the time, and I admire your work, but is it too late to try to change this and get it back into a family values attitude where the parents come first and everybody else really should kowtow to the parents and their wishes?
I don't think it's necessarily too late, and I think part of that is due to the Trump administration coming in. We're already seeing how he wants to get rid of all these federal mandates. He's already reversed Obama's, instructions to schools that you must let, transgenders use the bathroom of their choice. He's already starting. I think he's going to be helpful in reversing things like Common Core. And I do believe, he strongly believes we need to turn control locally to the schools. And I think that'll be a big step in the right direction, because you've got a lot of good people locally who would care more about getting the parents involved if they could.
Were you surprised when you heard this about Little Sandpoint, Idaho? Would you have much rather or expected the story to come out of a L.A. or Chicago or a Philadelphia? I mean, did it surprise you about the nature and the occurrence and where this story happened?
Oh, my gosh. Growing up in Washington State, I grew up with thinking Idaho was just the most idyllic place, and I know it's considered the most conservative state in the nation by many, and I always thought, if everything goes to hell in a handbasket, well, at least I can go to Idaho. So for me personally, this was extremely disturbing, and, that's why I asked around and found out, this is one of these areas in Idaho that the liberal hippies are coming in and taking over, and yeah, Zeb, it really did make me think. I always thought Utah was another really conservative state too, and we've seen what's happened with Salt Lake City over the last 30 years or so. Salt Lake City is controlled by a bunch of leftists, and so it's these last bastions of conservatism are the left taking them over. What it does is it ruins certain states and big cities and turns them blue. And then when it gets done ruining them, they move on to our red states and our red cities and ruin them. Right now they're in a fight to take over the city of Phoenix, and we've had 2 Democratic mayors in a row, but, we've got some awesome city councilmen fighting back, like Sal DeCiccio, who I call the Scott Walker of Arizona, and I think there's a good chance we're going to get a Republican mayor back in Phoenix soon. So, maybe good old Arizona is going to be the only conservative state left.
I don't want to put you on the spot, Rachel, but maybe you haven't had a chance to study this story. I just heard about it this morning, so bear with me, but I understand the Cadbury Easter Egg Company, to where they make the delicious milk chocolate Easter eggs with the special fillings for Easter, they have, and I've got many pages of the story right here in front of me. They have decided to start minimizing and taking away the word Easter on the wrapping of the eggs, because they said that by taking Easter off the eggs, it will not offend non-Christians. What are your thoughts about this?
Boycott them. I mean, that's the one thing they've been shown does have an effect, is when these companies want to make these silly statements, it's like, go back to doing what you do best, which is selling widgets. Don't use your, service for political activism. It's like these football players that kneel during the anthem and show disrespect. It's like, no, this is, you're paid to play so people can get a break from politics and the monotony of their lives. People pay to go see you for entertainment. They don't pay for your political offensive views, especially considering things like football are all America, American. And similarly with Cadbury eggs. I mean, Easter is a all-American holiday, and it's for everyone. It's for Christians, but it's also for people who aren't Christian. And so, to get rid of the word Easter, Easter has a non-Christian meaning as well. So they're bending over, to be politically correct. And, I say we boycott them because it will work.
Well, I think that you would agree with me, Rachel, that it's just one more nail in the coffin against Christianity, against religion, and the left is doing all they can to denigrate family values, as we see with this charter school in Sandpoint. And I'm just really worried that we've let this pendulum swing too far to the left.
That's right, and I was getting really scared, if Hillary were to get elected, the pendulum would keep swinging to the left. I think there's a very good chance Trump is going to sign an executive order protecting religious freedom, so I feel like we've been given a break, but I do think it's going to keep going, unfortunately, after Trump's out of office, and you have to realize there's still the judiciary, and Obama stacked the federal judiciary with lots of left-wing judges, and so let's say, there's some bogus case going on, with the Justice Department. Well, President Trump can get the Justice Department to, drop its pleadings and stop litigating the bogus case. But you've got the judges still on the case. I look at examples like, and we're getting off the topic of Christian conservatives under attack, but I look at the case of Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who's being wrongly, criminally prosecuted, and even though the Justice Department, is dropping, I believe, some of its pleadings against him, you have this vicious activist, Judge Snow, that will not let up and will not stop. He wants to nail Sheriff Joe, even though Sheriff Joe is in his 80s. He's no longer in office because George Soros' money, got him out of office during the election. So I do think we have to be careful because we're always going to be having the judiciary to fight that's going to keep pushing us to the left and undermining Christian values, and they're going to reinforce the schools doing that, unless we can get rid of some of this federal control and get it back to the local schools. And finally, you've got the media, but I do think Trump is making some difference there with the media, with his tweets and getting around them.
I agree. Rachel, just keep up the great work, and you're welcome back here anytime. Thank you for an excellent article and story this morning, and best wishes to Rachel Alexander. Again, thank you for being on the program.
I appreciate it. Thanks for covering it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm incensed over this, and I'm going to save this story and probably comment on it again tomorrow. I am. This garbage, and it is garbage, that's being pushed on our youth has got to stop. I know some great businesses that are celebrating Easter, and they want you to be a part of it. That's right. Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley with our dear, dear friend Colonel Dale and his staff. And they have all your Easter needs like precious moments figurines and the books and all the decor items, special gifts for all those Easter baskets, and oh my goodness, talking about books, they've got thousands upon thousands and thousands of books, and all the greeting cards, everything. Please stop in, you'll be so glad you did, to the Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley. And also our thanks go out to Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. Oh, strawberry pie. Strawberry pie at Perkins. And you know, they're great bakery items like all the fruit and cream pies and all the cookies. And you can buy 3 muffins and get 3 muffins free. Oh, and don't forget, they're going to be serving Easter dinner over there too. Ham and turkey and all the trimmings. Oh boy, it's going to be good at Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. And last but not least, to finish off those Easter baskets for your loved ones, oh, how about a basket from the Goody Shop? 133 West Main in Burley. Number to call, 647-0106. They can personalize those baskets. That's right. They can do a man's basket, and they can do kids' baskets, and you better order them now. Better order them right now. Call that number, 647-0106. The Goody Shop at 133 West Main in Burley. All of these businesses wish you and your family a very happy Easter. And that's what it's going to remain on this program, Easter. We will not ever change names of holidays that are very sacred to all of us. Christmas, Easter, etc. You can bet on it. We're going to take a little break and send it back over to Wheels at our main studio. And then I'm really looking forward to having this very nice gentleman come back on our program, again from California, Dr. Bob Thiel, and talk a little bit more about biblical prophecy and how it relates to politics for today. But right now we'll send it back over to K-Bar, and I'll be back in a few minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
And we're back on the program for the last half hour this morning, and very blessed to have with us Dr. Bob Thiel once again from California. Good morning, sir. How are you today?
Very fine, Zeb. How are you?
Well, not too bad. We're enjoying at least one day of spring-like weather, and then we're supposed to get dumped on again for the rest of the weekend with more moisture. How are things down in sunny California?
Just exactly how you just said.
Rub it in, rub it in.
The weather here is actually very nice. I grew up in Michigan, where it was much colder than this. So here, I moved out here just over 40 years ago, and the weather here is usually very nice. I didn't know that there was a part of the country that had weather like this, so it's one of the reasons that I've stayed.
Well, absolutely. Now, what town are you near down there? I've announced rodeos all over California, and I just was curious what town you're nearby.
Okay, well, we are nearby a town called San Luis Obispo.
Oh, yes. Beautiful, beautiful.
We are about an hour and a half north of Santa Barbara.
Yep. And I know San Luis...
Roughly 200 miles northwest of Los Angeles, and about 200 miles south of San Jose.
Yeah, a great college down there, Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, and I'm very familiar with a lot of the students that have gone there in the past. Dr. Bob, let me ask you a question here this morning first before we really get into biblical prophecy, etc. You know, you've written books about Barack Obama, the prophecy and the destruction of the United States, and also the same title for Hillary, and then for Donald Trump, America's Apocalypse. Of the 3 individuals, of the 3 personalities that you've written about, which one really caused you to think, oh boy, I'm really concerned with their personality and their power? Which one really caused you to be the most alarmed?
Well, the obvious one was Barack Obama. And it was basically, I had been working on a church history book, and I had a section in it about prophecy, But the book is one of these really, really long books. It's going to be like 1,000 pages, maybe it might be 3-volume kind of things. And I realized that, a lot of people don't want to read that much information. And so Barack Obama had just become president of the United States, and I'd read a report from a Catholic cardinal who called Barack Obama apocalyptic. And he said that he thought he would do bad things, essentially, related to the end of the world. And I'd already written about Obama, and so he started to do things that I did not approve of, such as, I think his first or second executive order was for the United States to fund international abortions or something like that, which I did not approve of. And then he started to do other things related to the debt, and I'd already was concerned about the national debt of the United States. And then he switched on the LGBT agenda. First he's campaigning for office, and he says he's against homosexual marriage, and he gets in and he changes. And Hillary had done the same thing. So those there are other policies, but those three, I guess, kind of caught my immediate attention, and so that's why I wrote about him first. And then, now as far as Hillary goes, I had been following her for a while because she had proposed something when her husband was president that would have put me out of business. Her health care plan, you had to be in the system, if you will, to exist. And I functioned as an alternative healthcare professional, and so I wouldn't be able to survive under her system. So I've always watched her, and then I figured she would run for president. Interestingly, there was a radio show I was on, and I won't mention which one, but the host and I were talking off the air. He said, Hillary's not going to run for president. And I said, I think she is. And I had already written most of my Hillary book. And then she announced, whenever she announced in April of, I think, would have been 2015.
Right.
And I had my book out on her within 2 days because I'd already written it. As far as Donald Trump, who's currently the president, this is interesting. Last summer, someone said to me over the telephone, doesn't Hillary Clinton have to win because there's a biblical prophecy about women ruling over us, and she's a woman, and blah, 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 blah. I said, well, yes, she's a woman. Yes, there's a prophecy in Isaiah. I said, but you got to understand that Donald Trump has made some interesting statements which I think could allow him to become president of the United States and could have prophetic effects. And, of course, it turned out he ended up winning. And so I wrote one about him. So I guess that's kind of the chronology, if you will, of what happened.
When you look at the world today, and I hope you're not upset if I call you Bob, it's just that much easier. But when you look at the world today, Bob, as to what's going on and the degradation of Christian principles and the degrading of family values and like even the Cadbury Easter eggs, now the chocolate and vanilla-filled eggs, they're going to take the word Easter off of the wrapping because they don't want to offend non-Christians. I mean, boy, oh boy, it seems like we're getting closer and closer to the biblical prophecy of end times.
Well, we're certainly getting closer. And in the election the United States had last November, now if you look at this, you have Hillary Clinton, who professes to be some type of a Christian. I think she called herself United Methodist. And when she was Secretary of State for the United States, one of her top priorities was to push the LGBT agenda, etc., which is inconsistent with biblical morality, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
And then you had Donald Trump, who has had his own personal issues, okay? But it was bizarre that he was the more religious in this country supported him, not because Mr. Trump's particularly religious. I don't believe he actually is. But they supported him because they felt at least they had a chance he wasn't going to accelerate the agenda of the Obama administration. So I think that's why he got in. And it's been bizarre when you look at a lot of things that have been going on. You've got the news media, on the one hand, who can't say anything positive about Donald Trump. On the other hand, you've got Donald Trump, who doesn't seem to care frequently words that he says later. So it's really a bizarre world that we're living in the United States.
You know, Bob, I want to be real frank with you that before Barack Obama became president, back in the campaign preceding 2008, I was very, very vocal about my disgust and disdain for the man. I came out and related a lot of stories about his support for partial birth abortion while he was an Illinois senator, and many other stories. And I don't think the man is gone and is going away anytime soon. I think, in my own personal opinion, his residency in Washington, D.C. was basically there to create a shadow government, to fight Trump and be kind of the knife in the back of anything conservatives try to do. And at one time, I was in agreement with another caller that called into my program that said, maybe Barack Obama may be the Antichrist that we don't want to see. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't believe he can possibly be the Antichrist. Interestingly, actually, I had a chapter in my Obama book about that for several different reasons. First of all, I believe the Antichrist is going to be a European power. But getting to Barack Obama himself, what I wrote in my book was basically he's apocalyptic, and that he would do things that would enable the rise of the Antichrist. His ecumenical agenda, I believe, is consistent with the Antichrist agenda, and he pushed that fairly heavily. And so, again, I don't believe he could possibly be. Now, as far as him and sticking around, there were always rumors that he was going to stick around. I got emails over the years. People said he's not going to leave office after his second term. He's not going to leave office after the second term. And I said, well, we'll see. And of course, he's out of office, and Donald Trump is in the office. That being said, he's living in the Washington D.C. area, and he and Mrs. Clinton have actually gone out and basically said they want people to protest, and they're going to try to do whatever they can to affect U.S. politics and maybe get people protesting on the streets and everything else. So it's a bizarre situation. We've never had a U.S. president who ever indicated he wanted people to go out and protest, at least not this way, and definitely not after he left office.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's unique, but he's not the Antichrist.
Bob, what about biblical prophecy? You study this every day, and you write about it in your works. The signs of the apocalypse. I am an amateur follower of what the Bible says compared to you, but there are a lot of building blocks, if you will, for the end times and Armageddon that seem to be falling more into place every day. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'll give you one that I saw. It was in the news last night. Over in Israel, today or tomorrow, they're going to sacrifice a lamb for Passover. You say, okay, so, well, the Bible talks about a time is going to come when something called daily sacrifices are going to be taken away. Well, since the temple was destroyed in 70 A.D., they haven't had daily sacrifices over there. They've been having kind of an annual one. They're not allowed to have it on the Temple Mount for political reasons, but they're having one. And according to a Jewish source I read this morning, thousands of people are going to come for this particular sacrifice. Now, people in this country will think, well, animal sacrifices, people still do that? No, they actually do them in India, by the way, and other parts of the world. But in Israel, they have something called the Reconstituted Sanhedrin. Mm-hmm. And this is a body of Jewish leaders, and they believe that they need to be implementing all the sacrifices and those kinds of things. And we're talking about in the 21st century. And again, there's supposed to be a ceremony Thursday, so whether it's tonight after sunset or tomorrow, I'm not sure precisely when they're having it. But it's over in Jerusalem, and again, thousands of people are going to watch. And the time is going to come when we'll see that happening over there. Then you've got over here, where policies going on here are kind of shaking up the world, as well as things going in other regions. And we've got the Europeans who just gave Britain an ultimatum. Now, Britain, as most of your listeners probably know, had a vote in June 23rd of 2016 that they decided they were going to leave the European Union. Okay, fine. Well, a monkey wrench was thrown into that a week or two ago, and that is the European Union has now said that they're not going to get a deal with Britain for leaving unless they get some kind of approval about Gibraltar. Now, many of your listeners probably are not familiar with Gibraltar, but Gibraltar is a peninsula that juts out of Spain and basically controls naval vessels going in and out of the Mediterranean.
Right.
Okay, it's a strategic place to have. Now, based on my knowledge of biblical prophecy, years ago, we had a magazine. I did a video that said that at some point in time, Britain's going to lose Gibraltar as well as the Falklands. And now, last week, the European Union has gone out and said, okay, as far as this Brexit, Gibraltar's got. We don't have to hold to anything we told you before about Gibraltar because you're not going to be in our union. And Spain, who wants Gibraltar back, by the way, gets to veto any deal we have. And that's going to be an uncomfortable situation, and I see that ultimately ending up the Brits are going to lose it. Now, they may not lose it during Brexit, but eventually they're going to lose it. So there's a lot of things going on in different parts of the world that most people don't even think about.
Right.
Have prophetic ramifications as far as I'm concerned.
Bob, I want to get into this next topic, and I've got limited time left, unfortunately, in our visit, but there seems to be a forgetfulness in this country as to who came in here on 9/11 and who brought down the Twin Towers in New York and who killed over 3,000 people. It was radical Muslims. And all of a sudden in the last 2-3 years, there has been a great big hue and cry going out, not only from private groups, but also our government. Oh, we must accept them. Oh, we have to do this. Oh, we're going to promote Islam and Muslim teachings in our schools. Oh, we have to be much more reasonable about accepting perhaps even Sharia law. Why? Why in this country are we accepting a heritage and a faith that absolutely is not part of our culture?
Well, biblically, there's a prophecy it's not really a prophecy, but it's sort of a prophecy in Romans chapter 1 where the Apostle Paul writes, because they didn't want to retain God in their knowledge, he's turned them over to do things or think things that are not good. And they seem to think that having them come over here is good. Yet, there's a prophecy, by the way, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 9, that warns that the Syrians may rise up and cause problems in the end times. Now, people think, what about Syrians? Well, you've got the situation with Syria now. You've got all these Syrian refugees. The Obama administration brought in, I believe, 12,500, approximately 12,500 Syrian refugees last year. And right now there is a complaint that President Trump's executive order is an anti-Muslim order or whatever it is. But when they brought in those Syrians last year, do you know how many claimed to be Christian? Of the 12,500, I think it was less than 200.
Right.
The rest are Muslim. And so I look at biblical prophecies and say, why would you bring in people who are prophesied to be an issue? Now, this doesn't mean that there can't be some refugees that shouldn't come over here. I'm not saying that. But to have a policy that you want to bring more and more in, and that's what Mrs. Clinton wanted to do. I read she had made some comment to the effect she'd like to bring about 100,000 or 80,000 or so a year for a long time. And you can't vet these people correctly. And again, because these people don't look at biblical prophecy, they don't think anything can be an issue. I read biblical prophecies and say, I think this is dangerous.
Well, I'm really glad to hear you comment on that. And again, I just absolutely urge everybody to follow Dr. Bob Thiel and his books, Donald Trump and America's Apocalypse, the latest one. Dr. Thiel, real quick answer to this, if you would. The Department of Education came out and was basically supporting an Access Islam in the schools. And boy, oh boy, you can't mention anything Christian in the schools, but it seems like they were underwriting the Islamic principles. It got nipped in the bud, we think, and was stopped. But are we going to see a lot more of this with the government trying to bring this in under the cloak of darkness in our school systems?
You may see it in local areas, but with Obama as president and the current Secretary of Education, I doubt it.
You wait a minute. Whoa, Bob. Bob, wait a minute.
A Trump administration.
Yeah.
I think if we do see some of that, I think you might see some executive orders or some other things to try to stop that. Now, should Mr. Trump leave office, die, or whatever, then all bets are off. But I think while he's in office, I don't see from a federal perspective they're going to want to promote this.
All right. Bob Thiel, please come back.
I think he's seen some of this, and he's complained about this kind of stuff in the past. So, right at this instant, I don't see the United States going that direction.
Okay.
But that can change.
Dr. Bob Thiel, please come back in the future. You're a welcome guest on this program anytime, and thank you so much for your insight this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me again, Zeb.
All right, sir. Thank you. Very nice man and a very educated man about the Bible and prophecy and his books, the latest book being Donald Trump and America's Apocalypse. Very interesting. All right, and we're going to get some bills paid here, first of all, with our weather forecast, and we're going to talk to you about Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Oh, man. Now, Deanna talked to Don Scarrow, and he's maybe going to be over here tomorrow morning at our studio, and he maybe is going to bring some delicious brats or bacon. Come on, Don. Don't let me down. Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, today is going to be a nice day, but as we move closer to the weekend, it appears that a storm front is rolling in. Weather for today, partly cloudy skies, slightly breezy, winds out of the south 5 to 10 miles an hour, high of 65 is what we're expecting. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, low of 41. Tomorrow looks like the beginning of that storm front rolling in, mostly cloudy skies, high of 68, overnight low of 46. And then for Friday, 90% chance of rain showers in the forecast with a high of 58. That is your weather. Elizabeth Duran.
Thank you, Gina. She does a great job getting everything all compiled as far as the weather is concerned. And Scarrows Meats does a great job in serving you the most delicious meats. Oh, my goodness. You've got to get a hold of them. They've got a new bacon called the buckboard bacon. It's leaner and more economical than traditional bacon, and it comes in various flavors. And try the brats. They're delicious. All of this and more at Scarrows Meats. 324-7657 number, changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Once again, I want to remind you that Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. What have we got cooking on the program tomorrow? It's Thursday, and we are hopefully, and I've been working on this one for 2.5 weeks, we're hopefully at 10:30 tomorrow going to have Martin Moyer. He wrote the book about jihadi death camps being set up by Muslims here in the United States, a book called Twilight in America. He's been on my program before, and we're certainly hoping we can get him on tomorrow morning at 10:30. And we're going to have, of course, Rita and the Chamber of Commerce report, all kinds of things, Cache County School Days, all of that coming up on tomorrow's program. By the way, too, don't forget that your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers doing the right thing matters. And right now, the right thing is to have a great big spring tire sale. Oh my, for your cars, pickups, SUVs. Check out on sale the Eclipse tire, all-season traction, advanced tread design. It's on sale starting at just $61.74. You better get in there and check it out today. And check out the great brake service. Boy, they know brakes. Super trained technicians helping you, also with front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. Service is the key at all the 7 Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely the best. And I want to get this in one more time. A dear friend of this program is going to be having a birthday next month on May 6th, and that's Russell Smith. And I want everybody to send him a card, everybody to send him an email, and he is going to be 93 years old. God bless him. And he's up at the Idaho State Veterans Home, 3 times Purple Heart recipient fighting for our country, and a friend of this program. Idaho State Veterans Home, room 70, at 1957 Alvin Ricken Drive in Pocatello, 83201. My dear friend Russell Smith. God bless him. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, we'll saddle the horses and ride for 3 hours right here on Zebeth Ranch. We want you to have a great day, and it sounds like our weather's going to get a little gnarly, so be careful out there. Hold on to your resistol, tighten up your stampede strings. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06, and remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be.